My project is BizNet, and it's a small business data solution. As a quick recap, it's a solution for data management, and it's aimed for small businesses, but it's really an application that can be used for businesses and possibly projects that want to keep track of any kind of data such as inventory, employees, timesheets, transactions, and anything like that. It's basically a TPS system, a transaction processing system. Currently it's being developed in PHP using jQuery for interface, and I'm using MySQL databases with, it's an InnoDB table engine that allows me to use relational, it gives me relational capabilities, which makes storage and access more efficient. So the progress so far, I've developed a small data entry prototype. It's not very in-depth, because as to what the needs of data are, I plan on making that kind of customizable to the user, where it'll generate, I'll use a script to generate their database based on the needs that the kind of data they need to store. It'll help them, one, analyze the needs of their business, like what they need to know, and it'll create the best tool to them. But I also plan on having a standard one that I'll develop based off of market research. The next part is I developed a small UI prototype. The former part of the project was Ticket Terminal, and BizNet is essentially what Ticket Terminal is going to run on, and that's more they're two separate projects, but they run off of each other. And I'm using Ticket Terminal to design an interface, and BizNet. I'll show you you'll see the difference in the small prototypes, but Ticket Terminal is more of the interface design, whereas BizNet's more the back end. So one looks fancier when one does more. And then I worked on a design for a tiered database, for a tiered data system where it's 3 tiers using a middle layer database, and I'll explain that more in depth later. So for the data entry prototype, the features currently are you can create a category, you can create a product, and you can list out the products and list out the categories. It currently lacks the linking of categories to products. It's just there's a bit of a logic complexity because I want to make a product have multiple categories, and I'm just still trying to figure out how to do that in the UI, and it's just a little confusing. I want it to take like a week to do that, just because it'll solve problems with other things in the future. So I want it to be right on this first one. So first I'll show you the working demo. This is the data entry demo. So first you can create, so you can make it slip and slide and click on. And you submit it. It says it added, so that's all good. Then we can also add products. You can see here, it added slip and slides to this. This is something that it'll generate the list. It does pull the database properly, is the thing. So like, I could select all these, and we could have a DVD about slip and slides. How to slip. And this is a 10-set DVD. And I don't have the product image working yet. That's just because I'm working on a small database and I don't want to upload a ton of images to it. But essentially, it would just be simple, download the image and it would display it. So we create it, and it adds the record, and then we can list our products. We have the Malibu Barbie doll for $200, and the description is Barbie's rule. The Mixmaster blender, $9,000, $50.99. This thing spins pretty fast, and how to slip and slide, 150. As you can see, the categories don't do anything yet, but eventually I have a database set up for it, or I have tables set up for it. I just have to get the script written. And then you can list categories. Like, you got food, toys, DVDs, watches, and Barbie dolls, which are awesome. But yeah, that's the working demo so far for that. The next part is the UI prototype, and it's developed for the original project, like I said. It'll hopefully extend, I want to extend it into the standard release, and I'll explain more about that later. But it's largely non-functional right now. I developed my own registration and login. I'd like to just use a separate package that I didn't develop. I'd like to use some open source registration package because I want to make sure it's secure. And I'm not big into it. Like, I'm not extremely knowledgeable in security, so I don't want anyone's information to get stolen. But right now it has a search button that does nothing, but it looks cool is the point. I'm trying to design something that looks nice and works, and I use jQuery to make it look interesting. So here's the demo for that. So it's hard to see right now because the screen's so small, but like it has a simple interface like click that looks cool, but that's really all it does. But I can log in somewhere. You can also register, but I'll just so it says hello Mike, I'm here, and I can view an account. So that's me. And that's what the interface does so far. It's mainly, I spent a couple of weeks just designing it and trying to make something that looked neat. It obviously doesn't look great on this horrible resolution, but I assume people don't use 400 by 800 displays. I'd like to make it more dynamic, but yeah. So that's working demo. As for the tiered database design, it's a large part of the development is taken up by designing databases. So sometimes, like, I won't push code because I'm drawing on a piece of paper, and it's hard to push code for databases. I'd like to release the SQL code. I'll probably end up doing that soon. And I want to do it. The system is supposed to use a 3-tiered layout, which I explained in my last presentation, and I'll have a diagram about it right here, where it has 3 layers: an application layer, a logic layer, and a database layer. The logic layer and database layer are both databases, and the app layer is my interface. It's what the user interacts with. And they're all connected. The point of the logic layer is to act as almost like a checkpoint for the data to go through. So say we have you can have several rules within it, such as discounts. Say products under this category, under all of our Barbie dolls are 50% off. And that will be basically inscribed into the logic layer. And if something goes through, it'll have to pass that rule, and it's a check for the application layer. Limitations say you can't order more than 20 Barbie dolls or 20 slip-and slides. It'll be coded into the database. And this is useful because I don't have to change my database or my application to change any logic rules. And that saves me trouble of picking through code and picking through a lot of complicated parts. And it's something it's a newer technique that's not applied a lot because companies don't want to change their systems because it costs a lot of money. But it is also something that will save companies a lot of money in terms of processing times and not having to take down their system to change something. So some of the challenges I've had is it's kind of a large workload working by myself, and a lot of confusing data combinations. Like it takes a while of thinking about it and working it out. The UI is also slow to develop on your own. I'm developing a UI and a backend, so it gets confusing. But for the future, I'd like to streamline a process for design, development, and implementation, where there'll be a design phase and people working on design, and then a development phase where people work on the actual hard coding of it, and then implementation, combining it with an interface. I want to form a small team and get more people on the project, hopefully for the fall, so that more can be specialized. Like for me, example, I like working on interfaces the most, but I also have knowledge of the databases, so I can control a team doing it. And I would like to continue into the fall. So thank you to Sean O'Sullivan, Professor Morphy, and Professor Tindero helped me with a lot of the, he gave me some advice on a lot of the business applications to this. He's a professor in the management department that I've taken some classes from, and for all of our classes. So, questions and comments?
I think something that would be really cool on, I don't know if this is in the scope of this project, but the backend seems like it would be a really good candidate for like a REST API. So that, like, say a few people are using it, a few local companies, you can create a website that will make requests to their REST APIs and get back some data and aggregate like a best products in the area of local businesses and stuff like that.
Actually, I did talk about that in my last presentation. What I just didn't mention at this time, it's a business-to-business solution. That's something that will take a while to develop. I plan on it because I want to make this an all-around solution. It might end up being packages where this is the business package. This is your simple data management. But I'd like to say I explained earlier, say I make gravestones and I need granite, and I can look at all the people that use this, and I can find someone that supplies granite and find their prices and buy it directly through this. Because I plan on also making it like Yahoo stores, but look way better because it's not Yahoo stores, which look terrible. But I want to kind of improve like usability and it'll help with exposure for places because it's expensive to run a store on its own, so having an online outlet for low cost would be useful to a lot of companies. Any other questions?